So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, and welcome to all of you to join this side event on leveraging data insights from the SDG Report 2024 and the new UN data platform. So in this event, we will want to showcase the latest data and the data insight on the SDG trends and the progress from the newly launched the SDG Development Goals Report 2024. This event also will include an interactive data journal through the UN data platform, showing case the SDG insight and how policymakers and decision makers can utilize its powerful search and analytical capability for evidence-based SDG action and policies. Apologize, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Yongyi Min. I'm the chief of SDG monitoring section at the UN DESA Statistical Division. Welcome. So before we start, I would like to invite our director, Stefan Scheinfest, to provide an opening remark to this side event as HLPX. So the floor is yours, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Yonggi, and hello and good morning from New York, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Stefan Scheinfest. I'm the director, and Yonggi may have a complicated title, but mostly she is the head of this fantastic group that has given us the SDG Report 2024 and many reports before that. And that's what we want to talk about, and in particular, the data behind the 2024 report, because the data is really the motor for everything we do for the analysis and hopefully also for the policies that will help us to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs. So this event is held as part of the high-level political forum. I'm very proud of this, and we launched our report about 10 days ago. And just an indication of how attractive or important this is even for inside the organization. We had not only the Secretary General, but also the Deputy Secretary General at our press conference launching our report. And the other important thing that I always like to mention at this point in the year is that there has, with all these years that we have been working with the data, putting it together and putting the report out, there has never been a discussion about the data in the sense that they have been criticized or questioned. People trust our data, all the work that we put together as a UN Statistics Division team, and there's the UN system team behind. We put this data together and they become a vehicle to immediately discuss the real issues, which are, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals. Today, we don't want to talk so much about the goals. We all know about them, why they are important, and why the news at this moment is not particularly good. But you all connected because I suspect you are data people and you really want to look at the data.
Stefan, you're muted.
What did I just do? I must have hit a button that I didn't want to hit, but I hope you can hear me again. So we want to talk about the data because the data is really central to the effort that we are making. The data will allow us to analyze, to dig deeper, to ask the important questions like which countries, which groups inside the countries have been affected and how. How are there trade-off efforts between all the valuable efforts that we are making in terms of policies? How is everything connected? And in that sense, our data is also a very big connector. And I want to introduce you today, or we want to introduce you today to the UN Data Platform, which is a groundbreaking collaboration between our office and Google's Data Commons. And I'm very happy to have our partner in crime and friend, Guha from Google here connected today, who will also address us and talk to us on how their powerful tool and our data really are a match made in heaven, I may say. For data to be an enabler of the SDGs, we need a lot of data, we need good data, and we need accessible data. We have a lot of data, and I'm talking about the UN system, and I want to emphasize one more time that the entire UN system, all the specialized agencies, I would literally say probably 100 of UN data specialists are working very hard during the year to put the best data together to bring them into the SDG report. We have good data because we have quality assurance principles that as a statistical professional community, we have had a history of insurance, but they have not always been accessible. And now we have this powerful tool, the UN data platform, that uses AI-based natural language query capability so that you don't have to know what the exact name of the data item is or where it is. You just ask a question and you can find the data. Not only find the data, you can look at it in very special ways. We have knowledge graph technologies, and we have visualization that makes the data not only accessible, but also visible and attractive to look at. So I'm very excited that we have all of this and that we will be able to give you today a taste of all of this. The objective of this meeting, I will be shameless, is absolutely to whet your appetite. I want everybody after this meeting to jump into UN data and start playing around, and not only play, but asking questions, asking your questions, asking the data questions to help us better understand what is going on and help us to move forward, which is the most important thing that we need to do. So my final point, thank you for connecting, and I will never get tired of making the pitch of we need even more investments in data. We need smart investments in data. And it's not only that I'm begging for that, but I can promise you there will be big returns if we collectively invest in data smartly. And we are here to demonstrate that to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stefan, for this great remark and emphasize the value of data. And data is not with money; it's a really an asset for the implementation of the 2030 agenda. So before we start, I would like to announce some housekeeping rule. So we'd like to have the camera and the microphone of the participants are disabled. So if you have a question for the panelists, please use the Q&A window and also use the chat window to interact with the other participants. So with that, I will start with invite my colleague Heather Page, also from the SDG monitoring section, to present the key finding from the SDG report 2024. And after that, we will give you a live demo, and follow that we have a panel discussion with three great panelists. So first, we'll invite Heather to give us the key finding from the SDG report 2024. The floor is yours, Heather.
Thank you so much. Just want to make sure, okay, can see the presentation okay?
Yeah, looks good.
Great. Thank you so much, Youngie, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to introduce the latest trends and data insights from the Sustainable Development Goals Report 2024. So the report reveals that among the accessible targets, only 17% show progress sufficient for achievement by 2030. Nearly half exhibit moderate to severe deviations from the desired trajectory, with 30% showing marginal progress and 18% moderate progress. Alarmingly, 18% indicate stagnation and 17% have regressed below the 2015 baseline levels. And as the Secretary General pointed out in the recent launch of the report, this annual SDG report card, as we're affectionately calling it now, shows literally that the world is getting a failing grade on the promise of the 2030 agenda. And looking at the goals under review at the HLPF, for instance, we see that for Goal 1, an additional 23 million people were pushed into extreme poverty. In extreme poverty in 2022 compared to 2019. For Goal 2, over 100 million more people were suffering from hunger in 2022 compared to 2019. For Goal 3, fossil fuel subsidies reached a historic high of $1.5 trillion in 2022. For goal 16, the number of forcibly displaced persons rose to 120 million, 50% more than 4 years ago, and almost doubled the level of 2015. And for goal 17, developing countries face a $4 trillion annual financing gap to achieve the SDGs. Sorry. If current trends continue, by 2030, sorry, I think I've gone too far. If current trends continue by 2030, 590 million people may still live in extreme poverty, and fewer than 3 in 10 countries are expected to have national poverty. 1 in 5 children under age 5 will be affected by stunting. 110% more fossil fuels will be produced than would be consistent with limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And 2 billion people will still live without safely managed drinking water, 3 billion without safely managed sanitation, and 1.4 billion without basic hygiene services. 660 million people will still lack electricity access, and around 1.8 billion will go without clean cooking fuels and technologies. If we don't want this failing report card to be our future, we must accelerate action to redefine the trajectory of SDG progress. And we can turn things around because SDG progress is already happening. There are successful examples of SDG progress that need to be accelerated and built upon, such as Central and Southern Asia reduced working poverty by 46% between 2015 and 2023. 134 countries had already met the reducing child mortality target, and 7 more were on track in 2022. Gender parity in managerial roles in sub-Saharan Africa has improved 40% since 2000, and global unemployment hit a historic low of 5% in 2023. The $100 billion annual climate finance commitment to developing countries was met for the first time in 2022, and marine protected area coverage has increased more than tenfold from 2000 to 2024. With accelerated action building on these successes and more that can be found throughout the world, we can reverse our failing grade. We are at a critical moment of choice and consequence to ensure the future we want and the one that has been promised. The SDGs are the best pathway out of our global challenges, and we must seize this opportunity. I invite you to explore more data and insights in the report, and then obviously also in the UN data platform that we will explore today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Heather. And before we move on to the next segment, I would like to invite you to provide some feedback. So we run a poll. Paul, can you? Yeah, thank you, Paul. So I'll give you a couple minutes. So we have 2 questions. The first question is, what do you consider the biggest barrier to effectively utilizing open data for SDG progress? And the second question is, how familiar are you with the UN data platform and its capabilities? So I'll give you a couple minutes then to choose. Okay, with that, maybe Paul, can you show the result? Okay, so for the first questions, the biggest barriers to open data and UN data, barrier is, I think the number one is lack of access of high quality data. I think 46% choosing, and this is equally almost the same percentage people vote on technical challenge in data integration, and follow with insufficient resources and funding, and also political and institutional resistance. And then the data privacy and security concerns. And the second question now, how familiar are you with the UN data platform and its capabilities? I think most people are aware it, but have never used it. So today it will be a good opportunity, and we will demonstrate how you can use the UN data to find the data and data insights. And some people say somewhat familiar and occasional use it, and 15% say very familiar and use it. I'm glad to see the only two people, 5% not aware of it now. So thank you so much for your vote. So I will move on to next. My colleagues Daniel will provide Daniel Ashiti will provide a live demonstration of the UN data platform for SDG actions. So the floor is yours, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Yonggi. Do you see my screen? So this will be a live demo. So you'll see me as I navigate through the website and the contents. Can you see it clearly?
Yes, I can see it clearly.
Okay. So this is the link will be provided in the chat, the UN data landing page. This was launched back in September for the SDG Summit for showcasing the SDGs at that moment. This time around, we have the SDG Report 2024. So there is a revamp of the landing page where you could look into some of the insights from the report. The first section has what was mentioned, natural language query, where you can type question and get your answers, like how much. There is a sample question here, is like how much food goes wasted. You can click on that and you get a bunch of information and insight that you can go through and dig deep further. The second part highlights the HLPF goals. This time there are 4 goals which are in focus: Goal 1, Goal 13, Goal 16, and Goal 17. So you have some insights, some carousel cards that take you to the actual data behind all these 4 goals in focus. We'll come back to them a bit later. The next section looks into the countries and areas where we put some highlights of specific data points on different thematic areas: poverty, electric energy efficiency, participation of women in parliament in India. So you can also go further and explore this. The other addition that came after the SDG Summit is what we call the thematic areas. We have 12 thematic areas at UN Data where we curated data related to this thematic area so that you can, if you are focused on climate and environment, you don't have to go through all of them. You can go to this thematic area and see what is available there. And we have some sections related to news where you can see current events, 2024 report launch being the first one here, and other events we have in the past. And following that, we have what we call data insight. These are data kind of based blogs coming from our partners who are pushing out some information when they have big releases. You have the World Health Congress data blog related to that. We have their data also integrated in UN data. Those are our first partners here. And we have the links to the partners. So coming back to, you can explore the data from countries areas here in this section, or the menus up there. So we have the countries areas. So when you go there, you will see data by region, by areas. The first one here comes, it just gives you data on Africa. So it just goes by SDG from 1 to 17. You can scroll through to see what is available. If you're interested in one of them, you can pause and take a look at the, if it's a map data, when you see the gray ones where there is no data, you can explore further. And there is a lot of insight cards coming here. And even, we just show the first 10 or so at one go for a specific target, but you can explore more to go through all of this. This is one way of accessing the data. And the other is, it's only Africa. If I'm interested in a specific place, let's say I want to explore something for Kenya, then I can switch to Kenya and then see the data for Kenya. The first chart being on poverty. You can see the earlier days, disaggregation is really, there's no disaggregation until 2005. And then you can see the progress further downwards to the current days where there is more disaggregated data. And you can see also, this is all going through the SDGs, but you can also switch to the thematic areas and change if you want to see data by thematic areas. So this one is on children and youth related to Kenya. So you can see a lot of data here. So just to show you, we have two ways of accessing data. One is from the navigation on the left, and the other is on the top bar we have here. Back to our SDGs, we have a specific dedicated SDG page because that's the event, and that's where we try to start with the SDGs. And you could do the same thing, similar things, so you can access the information in multiple ways. Here is, you can explore the countries or the regions. Most of you are aware that SDG has regions. We have data by regions too, so you can also explore. Or the other thing is you can go directly to the specific SDG. When I click on all SDGs, this year we have integrated the data stories coming from the report into the platform. You can see the high-level insights on each chapter being highlighted here with all the pictures related to that. And then you can also, if interested, explore the report itself. There's a hard copy of the report. When I click on read more, it takes you to the report page. These are the actual PDF reports put together into a web format where you can explore content. Coming back to our SDGs, so I'll start looking through goal one, for instance, right? So here in the goal one, it has with the highlights, and we have stories that are created from the reports that are integrated into the UN data platform. So for instance, this is this first story on SDG 1 in our report, the 2024 report. You can see a reference here. We have multiple reports coming into the data insights here. The report has a limited number of stories to share. So each goal probably have like 4 or 5 stories with some graphics that you can share. Here we brought that in, but you can go further deep into the raw stories. For instance, this one is on extreme poverty. So you see the tags here, target 1.1 and indicator 111. So if you want to see details on this day, 111, you can click further and see the stories related to it. And then also look into the data itself coming from. So we won't be able to put this in the report, but for users who are really savvy and looking through the data, they can come here and look into the report. Here you can see employment-related poverty, employed population 15 years old and above, below. So you can see the data from 2000 and up to 2000 latest year. So you can see the story where employment, improving over time, but the report is looking into how good is the improvement. So that's the narratives coming from the stories. So here you can take a look at the data, for instance. If you want to download it, you can download it into a CSV, or you can download this image as a chart, embed it in a report, or put it in a presentation. So these are the insights we have. Let me go back and just explore a little bit further to use a natural language query here. So here it is talking about extreme poverty in low-income countries. So I was wondering, okay, who are the low-income countries? So we have a search here. I was looking into the low-income category provided by World Bank. One of them is Malawi. So I'll try to just say, okay, what we're saying the progress is not that good since 2015 for low-income countries. So I said, okay, what is the poverty rate in Malawi? So you can see the data for Malawi. You can see the very high poverty rate in Malawi, 58.8 from data into 2019. You can go through all poverty-related data. This is a employed poor, which is about 50.7. So this just tells you a story, okay, oh, there is more to explore for country, but the report will give you a kind of an indicator, a teaser, where you can go explore. And if you look into the health, impoverished children, 63.5%, this is a very high number. So that kind of shows, okay, Malawi is the one of the low-income countries, and the numbers look like this. But how about if I want to see it across the region? So Malawi is in sub-Saharan Africa. So what is its rate compared to the region itself? No, Malawi is here, so you can see this bar chart tells a story. Sub-Saharan Africa average is about 35%. Malawi is up there at 70%. So that's a clear indication there is a lot of things not going well in terms of poverty in Malawi. And it also details some other comparative data sets on poverty with some disaggregation. You can also look into rural-urban breakdown here for Malawi. Okay, now this is trying to go a little bit further. I wanted also to compare, okay, Malawi says, okay, let's try to do apples for apple. Let's see other what's called low developed countries which are related in the same category with Malawi. So I took Rwanda and Mozambique, which are classified in the same group. Mozambique is a neighbor, Rwanda is in the region. So I go and do this also again. Okay, compare it across the three countries. So you can see here where Malawi fares, and you can also hear this is much better inside because there's more disaggregation by age, by urban, rural data sets. And you can also give you a count of the percentage across. So you can see Malawi a little bit higher in the region. So Rwanda is better in terms of the percentage, but in terms of the numbers, it's also interesting to see. So you kind of go through these comparisons to understand, okay, so you can use this tool to further, dissect the data, try to understand the situation, and bearing in mind that the data is from also a different time era, so that it kind of gives you a clear indication. It's not the same time period, but it gives you an indication on where that specific country stands. Then I might be interested to ask, okay, this is about poverty, right? So hunger is somehow related to poverty. How about the hunger issue in Malawi and this country? So what it does is that the tool kind of understands the context and gives you related. So I was asking, I didn't say, give me data about hunger in these specific countries. I just said, how about hunger? Then it kind of relates it to your previous question, tries to bring data points in hunger. So here is undernourished population in the three countries, so Malawi, Rwanda, and Mozambique. So it gives you comparative data sets so that you can explore further. Some of them are only between Malawi and Mozambique because there might not be no data point for Rwanda on this specific indicator. But as you go through the data sets, it shows a lot of insights coming back. So you can, as I said, you can download or include this into your report or presentation. So this is just to give you an idea of what you could do with the search, the natural language query, asking question to the data portal, and then you get all the feedbacks back in one big splash. So you can dissect this and use it further. What we also did, just coming back to maybe a generic way of, So we put together some sample queries for you to explore. What type of question should I ask? So here are some sample questions. If you want to know poverty in Mexico, you can click there. It gives you data on poverty with several dimensions. Or if you are interested in comparing two things, let's say if you want to see electricity access in Kenya, you can ask how electricity improved in Kenya. But you didn't go for a specific indicator, going to the SDG breakdown, trying to understand the framework, but it just gives you an idea where they are at and what the coverage is from the latest data available back in the database. So this is a way to explore the data using the natural language query. That's what we hope will be a good start in further improving this algorithm so that you can get a more fine-tuned responses as we go along with our partners working on improving the engine behind every day. We are not doing this alone. We're doing it with our data partners. So we have the first pioneers who are on board with us. These are their page. If you look into World Health Organization, where we did the integration a couple of months ago, we have their specific page for World Health Organization. So you can see where the data is coming from. You can see where their GitHub storage repository is. You could also look into data insights coming from WHO. This is a provision. And you can also see indicators coming from them. So we put some highlighted indicators here, but these are not the 3 indicators coming from WHO. If you look into see all, you can see a list of indicators. So we have about like 3,332 indicators from WHO. So you can kind of navigate through them like this, but you can also do a filter here. So if I'm interested just to see, okay, how about mortality data coming from WHO? So you can see from 3,300 something, we only have now 812. So 812 indicators related to mortality. So this is how you can, in a brief way of exploring the resources. Back to you, Yongi. Thank you for your attention. If there is any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Daniel just gave you a flavor of the functionality of the new UN data website. This has a lot of potential, and I think the particularly useful is the natural language search function. And this also demonstrates how we can integrate data and the data insight together. So we use the SDG report that you can find the whole report, the key story that link to a particular target and indicator from the website. I saw in the chat some of the participants want us to search the information for their country on Ghana, Zimbabwe, Mauritius. So we will share the link to the search. So we invite you to explore the site yourself and to looking for the information you are interested in. And this is you can get the result instantly by searching the question you have in mind. So before we go to our panel discussion, I would like to invite you to do another quick poll on how we can enhance the use of UN data. So in this question, we ask what features or improvements would most enhance your use of the UN data platforms. So I give you 30 seconds to answer, and then we move to the panel discussion. So I think this probably should be sufficient. Or can you show the result? Okay, thank you. So I think for the first one, enhancing search and analytical capabilities is the number one choice by the most participants. Followed by one, integration with other data sources, better data visualization tool, and also more frequent data update, most user-friendly interface. So the Daniel showcased that we gradually will integrate more data sources from the UN partner agencies, and start with WHO and ILO, and with more and incoming. And in addition, hopefully in the future, in the besides we can search the data, we will also want to enable the function of search the data insight. For example, if you want to search the latest data story or data insight from the SDG report, the search function hopefully will also return the data story and together with the data. So without further ado, I would like to invite our three great panel to discuss how open SDG data can support evidence-based policy making. So we have three great panelists. The first one is Francesca Perucci, the Director of Policy and Partnerships from Open Data Watch. Then we also have Ari Guha, as Stefan already introduced. Guha is the founder of the Google Data Commons of Google. We also have our colleagues, Luis Gonzalez. Luis is the Chief of Data Innovation Section at UNDESA Statistical Division. So I would like to maybe to start the question, the question with Francesca first. So Francesca, so what are the key governance practices that ensure the effective creation, management, sharing, and use of open data for sustainable development?
Thank you, Yonggi, and thanks for making me part of this discussion today. It's really exciting. Before I answer your question, just give me 1 second to congratulate you and the team for the release of once again, the SDG report. We learn almost to take it for granted, right? Every year it comes out as almost magically, but we all know it's a huge effort by the team, and it represents efforts by the whole global statistical community, I would say. The way they manage to bring together such a huge amount of information and data, and every year it's more. So we can inform the actions on the SDGs, although of course the picture we see is not so encouraging, but congratulations again. And amazing to see the progress on the UN data platform, of course, really, really, really great. So now to answer your question, of course, implementing data practices is key to making statistical systems, data systems in general, transparent and data accessible and usable. And by removing these barriers to access and use, open data facilitates the data integration, the linkages to policies, to actions, which are key to effective use of data for sustainable development. And in a way, open data has always been at the core of an efficient statistical system, right? It's even in the fundamental principles for official statistics. If you look at principle 1, we already talk about data that are compiled and made available on an impartial basis by official statistical agencies to honor citizens' entitlement to public information. So this concept of entitlement, right? Information has to be there, accessible and usable to everybody. So how do we implement open data? Of course, there are legal and technical aspects, the open license, the open access, consistent publication of good metadata, ensuring data are published in a non-proprietary and machine-readable format. But the concept of open data goes well beyond that. It includes ensuring data comparability, data interoperability, but also improve data governance and citizen engagement. And in that context, I just want to mention that there are very important efforts ongoing to modernize data governance, to respond to these increasing complexities of data use. They focus on improving data security, establishing good privacy protection measures, promoting responsible use of AI, and in general, ethical data practices. And we see an increasing demand for citizens' data agency. This is a very welcome trend. It contributes to building data systems that are trusted, inclusive, that are relevant to what is needed for decision-making at all levels. So it really helps as citizens become more aware of how data should be used, and they have a voice in the whole process throughout the data value chain. Sorry. So now, in the case of our platform here, the UN Data Platform, that brings together many different parts of the global statistical systems, there are, of course, particular governance aspects to consider. Number one, I would say, the challenge of implementing data sharing and interoperability, ensuring the seamless data sharing and interoperability across agencies that have very different mandates and very different approaches. That is key to ensure consistency, avoid confusion, and we know it's very difficult. So there is a need to establish clear common standards and protocols, and establish coordination mechanisms and continuous engagement of all the different teams across the agencies involved. So maintaining high standards for data quality is key, ensuring interoperability and consistency. In a sense, what we see happening in national statistical systems, where the most challenging aspects are related to data exchange, integration, often linked to lack of resources, difficulty in establishing the mechanism, difficulties in having the right technology. We almost see it reflected in the global statistical system. So the right governance is very important. Establishing these protocols for data to be shared, and ensuring this ongoing dialogue across the different agencies involved to address these common challenges, navigate the complex regulatory and ethical landscapes of data sharing. And I would say UN Data is the perfect platform to do that, to enable that level of integration and to maximize the value of data. So overall, there are certainly challenges in implementing open data for better use of sustainable development data. But there are a lot of benefits, and obviously the benefits are more than the challenges. Overall, this allows us to increase the use and reuse of data. We improve the value and the impact of data overall, and we make the data systems very user-centric. So overall, I would say open data is clearly shown to be fundamental to building robust and sustainable data systems, promoting ethical data practices, and overall promoting trust in data. Back to you, Yonggi.
Thank you so much, Francesca. I know you mentioned there's a lot of challenges to implement this good open data governance practice, but we see improvement over the year. I think the Odin indicator index from the Open Data Watch demonstrate that over the past few years, we see the improvement. So the global statistical community working together to make the effort. So this is a great achievement, but there's much more we have to do together, jointly. With that, I will move on to next panelist. The question for Guha is, what role does public-private partnership play in enhancing the accessibility and usability of open data for sustainability?
Thank you so much, Yonggi, and everybody else for having me here. Let me begin answering this question by referring back to something that Stefan said, which is that in order for people to feel comfortable about taking actions on data, it has to be trustworthy. And trust, who better to be trusted than an entity like the United Nations. And so the role that the public plays is to provide, to make sure that we have the kind of systems in place which are capable of collecting trustworthy data and making sure that the data that comes in is indeed trustworthy. The role that, and of course, it's not enough to have trustworthy data, this data must be usable by everybody. And that's where private comes in, where private companies can afford to invest significant amounts of resources in creating highly scalable repositories and systems and natural language interfaces and all of that. Of all the different collaborations that I have done, I would regard the collaboration with your team as one of the most, not just successful, but satisfying collaborations where we brought these two very complementary things together to create something that is hopefully of significant value. And I hope this platform can spread and be much, much more widely used everywhere, not just by those of us who are interested in data, but those of us who just want the answers in order to effect change.
Thank you so much. Go ahead. I think the main purpose that we want to the data for particular for policy making, and with the 6 years left for the SDG deadlines, we really want to see how the policymaker to take the insight from the data to devise policies and to accelerate the progress.
Yeah, if I may add, if you look at all the many of us are in places which either are in the middle of extreme heat or just are getting out of extreme heat, and in order to be able to identify which communities of people are most at risk for that kind of an application, we need an enormous amount of data. And the people who are actually in a position to be able to help these people who are at risk are unfortunately not computer scientists and systems engineers and so on and so forth. We need to be able to just give these people the answers. And that is exactly the kind of stuff which I'm hoping our collaboration will make easier.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks so much for the great collaboration and provide us the resources and the technologies. And we really hope to have a better use of this great platform. So my next question is to Luis. Luis, what steps are being taken to ensure the data integration across the UN system is efficient and effective?
Thank you, Yongyi, for the question, and thank you for having me in this panel. I mean, the value of UN data is the value of integrated data, and of data that brought together provides better and more actionable insights than data that is separated in silos. No? So that's one of our main focuses. How do we integrate data coming from different domains, from different institutions, into something that is usable and actionable? And it's something similar to what Guha just mentioned, where we need to bring together different types of expertise to make this process efficient. We need the domain expertise, we need the technical expertise, and all of that with a common target, which is we have to be very much user-centric in the types of outputs that we are producing, the integrated data outputs that we are producing. So I would say all starts with clearly defined goals centered in the user needs and the needs of our data partners, so that we can ensure consistency and quality and that the outcome is valuable. Well, then it requires for us to have both the necessary domain expertise, the necessary technical expertise. Domain expertise to understanding the specific characteristics of the data, the proper use of the data, and the proper ways of integrating different data sets. So that domain expertise needs to be mobilized, and so that's one of the aspects that we are very much working on with. The domain expertise is with the data providers. So it's with those people collecting the data in the health systems or in the education systems. So that aspect of integrating their expertise is crucial for an efficient data and an effective data integration. And also the technical expertise. So we also need to build all the necessary skills to have a proper solution architecture, the user experience design, the data engineering, the information management, and now the new skills and capabilities that make this integration faster. Stepping into the domain for us new, but not for many others, of artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and so on. So bringing all these different types of expertise, technical expertise together is crucial for properly integrated data. And so what we are doing on our end as sort of the conveners of this initiative is to provide, try to provide a framework where we simplify as much as possible complex processes. We standardize as much as possible complex processes for data acquisition, for data transformation, for data dissemination, for the release of the data. So this exercise of continuously trying to standardize, continuously trying to simplify and make repeatable is one of our key focus areas of focus. And this is a never-ending effort. It will never end. We will never have a properly standardized or finally standardized process. Things continue evolving, and we need to continue working in this regard. And then also, if I may also touch on to have an efficient and effective integration process, we also need to look into change management and governance and coordination and communication. So we are creating structured processes that need to be reviewed and approved and orchestrated with many different actors, as Francesca said, actors that have different mandates, that have different contexts, that have different needs and different capabilities. So that aspect of communicating, coordinating, or understanding each other's context and needs is very important for, at the end, a system that works. And as we are evolving the system, as we are co-creating the system over time, we need to track our own progress. How are we doing in terms of the outputs that we are producing? Are they meeting the expectations of the users? What do the users find difficult in our platform? And so that's also the importance of this engagement, asking our users, what do they need? What is the direction? Because they need to set the direction first. Yeah, I mean, let me stop here and happy to elaborate more if there are questions.
Thank you so much, Luis. I think that this means we have to work very closely with our partners, agencies, and also work with the user and continue to improve the UN data platform. So that's why we will welcome the user to provide feedbacks and to on your experience with the platform. And so without, I also like to invite the participant, if you have a question, so you can put in the Q&A or in the chat. I saw some questions in the chat, so we will answer the question later. So maybe I'll have a second round of question for the panelists. Let's also start with Francesca for the second round of questions. So Francesca, how can UN data contribute to a more transparent and accountable policy-making process?
Thank you, Yonggi. Well, I'm really confident that UN data will increase the use of data for development and in general to inform action. And what I see is the sort of greatest value is demonstrating the power of data. What Luis was talking about, the value of UN data is about integration. So what was once sometimes hidden or available only, on a sort of more sectorial perspective, now can be used in conjunction with other data sets. So it's for a user who wants to understand trends in child mortality, they do not just use or need the data specifically on child mortality, child protection, etc., but they can see that in a context of other policy aspects in the country or in the region they are concerned with. So it's this ability to look at data in an integrated manner from the question that the user has, right? So that's, I think, will have an incredible impact. But what do we need to do to ensure the highest impact? I think the key here is that it's not just data, it's about data and other content, right? Content, so that all users, all different types of users can consume the information that we offer. So it's also important to develop this community of data users. And I'm sure that as more people access UN data and take advantage of the platform, there will be increasingly, useful demonstrations of how these UN trusted data sources can be used to address the specific development concerns, the policy issues. So there will, it will keep building, it will keep growing. But the biggest challenge I see is how we keep up with this rapidly changing audience, right? People are exposed to an overwhelming amount and variety of information. Not all of it is trusted. Not all of it is good quality or reliable. So how do we ensure that we meet those needs and we guide, in a sense, that audience, right? Offering not just data, but as I was saying, data and other tools and content information, how you use the data. So ensuring that these data are relevant and getting feedback from users will be key so that we, sorry, forgive my scratchy voice, you can continue to adjust to that changing users' needs. So UN data is a lot more than just offering data. I see also that one important aspect is what we see in UN data reflects what's available in countries. We don't want to forget that those are not data by the agencies, those are data that are produced in countries. So it's important to look at what the coverage and openness of those data is and highlight the issues. You can understand where the gaps are, and guide and offer solutions, promote, breaking these data silos that are not just in agencies, they're also in countries, and increase, data literacy, promote awareness, data use and action. In a sense, UN data can become almost like a role model, right? To show the best practices and setting a benchmark for countries to follow. So you can facilitate a dialogue in a way, on all these solutions. So I would say, focusing on advocating interoperability and if possible, promoting also and providing support and training. And of course, it's a question of securing funding for that and ensuring, this is sustainable over time so that we promote data use and we expand the user base. By offering more features, more tools, we target a bigger, much bigger audience that we could do as single, separate entities within the UN system, right? Collectively, we can expand that user base. So capacity building, of course, promoting data literacy, all that goes together with UN, with the development of the platform. And if I look at the future, I would say, the biggest challenge will be about, continuous improvement, sustained improvement, regularly updating the platform, not just on the content, but on the technological advancements. And thanks to the partnership with Google, I'm sure that will, the two processes sort of will go hand in hand, and then securing the resources. And also, if I may say, we should look into expanding, for the future, expanding to include more countries' data, local data, add increasingly, regional and sub-regional perspectives to meet all users' needs. So overall, I'm sure UN data can have a huge contribution to data being used in a transparent and accountable way so that we can inform the necessary action and policy making. Back to you, Yongi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francesca, for the great suggestions on how to improve the UN data and also actually building the capacity for country. So we do have some long-term plan for the UN data, and so gradually we first integrated the data from the UN agency, then we will expand to region and sub-regions data and to country data in the long run, but also try to in the process and build the capacity. It will take some time and effort, but we will working towards that. And so my next question is to Guha. Guha, what technological solution do you see as the most effective in facilitating widespread access to data and information globally?
Thank you, Youngie. Francesca actually answered most of my the question that you're asking me, so I'll keep it short. There's two things I want to talk about. One is today we have access to the data if you know what question you have to ask. But often, and then the question has to be precise. But if the question gets really general, going back to the earlier example of the people who are going to be most affected by heat waves and climate change and so on, the system needs to have a much deeper understanding of how to synthesize many different data points in order to come up with a reasonable conclusion and to be able to explain its reasoning, if you will, for doing this. So, for example, we know that in the case of heat, older people, people with health conditions, people who don't have access to cooling centers or air conditioning are more likely to be affected. And without the policymaker having to specifically ask each of these things, it would be fantastic if the underlying system can actually be able to answer the sort of not require the policymaker to understand, have deep knowledge of what data the system has, etc., and to be able to just ask the question. I'm hopeful that at the rate at which AI is progressing, that sometime within the next, a year or 18 months, we will be able to provide the first such interfaces. The second part is in order to be able to do that, those kinds of things, we need data at an incredibly fine-grained level. If we look at many places in the global south, we do not have data at the equivalent of the state or the county level. Now, the kinds of mechanisms that we use in order to collect this data need not be the same as the mechanisms that we use in places like Europe and the US. The methods that we use in Europe and US were developed many decades and in some cases over 100 years ago when we did not have access to things like cell phones. But now that we have such modern technology, maybe we will be able to use this technology in order to get incredibly fine-grained but still trustworthy data, so that the amount of data that we collect will probably go up by 2 or 3 orders of magnitude, but that's okay. We can deal with that. But the kinds of things that we will be able to do with that are hopefully worth that effort.
Yeah, I thank you so much for this great answer. So we're really looking forward because I know the private company also has the most advanced technologies, and UN really have to collaborate and to leverage these technologies for the information that really addressing the most needed people and to divide make a policy and to help them. So thank you, and we're also looking forward to improve our data platform and using the latest technology with the data commons and just keep improving. So my next question is also to Luis. Just 1 second. Luis, how does the UN data platform align with the broader digital transformation goals of the UN?
Thank you, Yoni, for that question again. I mean, for us, it's very important to be inserted in the innovation strategy for the UN. So the UN Data Platform aligns with the broader strategic goals of the UN in very specific, very intentional ways. So we are prioritizing innovation and both in data and in technology. So our platform is built on the foundation of new tools, new methods that allow us to showcase the value of our data. So we prioritize the development, the adoption, the use of cutting-edge technologies like the ones we saw a demonstration earlier today to ensure that we, as an organization, that the UN remains at the front of delivering high quality, timely, relevant official statistics. So this technological foundation is aligned with the broader goal of leveraging digital tools to enhance the efficiency and the effectiveness of the UN operations as a whole. But also not only technology, so also in the sense of addressing people, culture, processes. While technology is vital, our strategy also recognizes that the transformation requires people. It requires change in the way we do things, change in our belief systems, in our processes. So we are fostering a culture of experimentation, of agility, of learning, even of informed risk taking within our division and within partnership with our colleagues. So trying new technologies like AI involves risks, but these risks, when well informed, are worth taking. So this is also, I think, a way in which we align with the modernization of the UN as a whole. And also the aspect that we discussed earlier about breaking silos and promoting collaboration, not only breaking silos in data, but breaking silos in how we work together in cross-functional teams. So historically, there has been a divide between business operations, policy, and IT, and that doesn't work anymore. So we need to move towards cross-functional teams that include a mix of skills that are organized around specific deliverables. And this ensures that our teams are structured in a way that we respond to the needs of our users and instead of having just isolated technical function. And so this is also something that is, I think, very much in alignment with the intention of the modernization of the UN as a whole. And also an aspect that was mentioned already, prioritizing also the strong partnerships, strong partnerships with other agencies, strong partnerships with the private sector, like in this case with Google, with civil society, say organizations like Open Data Watch that represent the users and so on. So that focus on building partnerships, on stepping out of our comfort zone is also very important. And I think in line with what the UN modernization vision is about. So a few things on how I think this project is in alignment with that, and I hope we can continue aligning even more. So thank you, Yoni, for the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we just have to keep up with the new technology and keep up our partnership with all the great stakeholders, agency, private sector, and other civil society organization. I'm conscious about time, but before we move on to the Q&A section, I would like to quickly run another polls. And so, yeah, thank you, Paul. So based on the panel discussion, so we would like to ask you, which of the following do you believe is the most critical action to enhance the use of open data for SDG progress? So I give you 30 seconds to review and answer the questions. Okay, can we bring the result? Thank you. I think the number one from the poll is enhancing data integration and the technical capabilities. Followed by ensure data quality, trust, and reliabilities, and then followed by improving governance and management of open data. I think then the strengthening public-private partnership and increasing funding and resource for data initiative, and also get some support. So thank you very much for that. So we will move on to the Q&A session. I see there's some questions in the chat and a couple questions in the Q&A. So maybe let me just mention, and there are a couple questions in the Q&A session we already answered, but I want to bring that to the attention. And so Walter asked how to access the SDG Report 2024. So we put a link in the chat so you can explore the SDG Report 2024 on our website, or you can actually do a Google search. And I think the first result, if you search SDG Report 2024, you will find our report there. And then in the Q&A session, there's another question on do the search capability allow one to compare relations between indicators? So my colleague Daniel and just showcase how to compare maternal mortality and by extreme poverty. So you can also use the search function of UN Data Platform. So now let me move on to some questions that from the chat. I think one question from Frankie say, hello, how you maintain the data keep updated and how to validate the data from Indonesia. So I would like to maybe invite Luis to answer this question.
Yeah, no, thank you, Yongyi. And I think this is a very good question and touches back on what I was saying at the beginning in terms of simplifying, standardizing, making processes repeatable and adaptable. So the more we have pipelines that can be used repeatedly, that can be reused, the easier it is for us to bring in the data that is made available by the different partners. So that aspect of understanding what are the common patterns that we can reuse, what are the common structures that facilitate data integration is crucial. So we need to make it very easy for our data providers to bring the data into UN data. That's one of our main goals in our data engineering team, to make our processes repeatable and scalable. So to achieve that, we need to have simple processes and well documented, well understood, and co-owned. So systems that are also owned by the data providers, so that they can help us evolve them over time. That's again a Sisyphean task. It's never going to be finished. It's never going to be a final state, but it's something that we need to focus on every day.
Thanks, Luis. I think there's a couple questions that are related from Vetus and Saruni. What are the sources of this data used for the computation of this indicator? Is it from the national statistical offices? The next question is, how do you get data from countries specific to make sure that they're correct, representative, and the country's ownership? I think these two questions are related. Maybe it's also to you, Luis.
Yeah, well, I think you are actually the best positioned person in the world to answer that. But I will start and then hand it over to you. So we at the moment are bringing into UN data provided by the custodian agencies, by the international statistical system. agencies, members of the UN system, like Daniel was showing. So these agencies work in their areas of expertise and in the areas of their mandate with their countries, with national statistical authorities. So there is a whole architecture of the global statistical system that ensures that the data produced at the country level that is authoritative then flows up this mechanism, and that finally is made accessible through UN data. So this architecture is complex and evolving. And yeah, I would believe, John, you are probably the best person in this panel to respond to that.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. And indeed, as you mentioned, the data are originally from the National Statistics System, that is a custodian agency for the indicator that collected and also validate and ensure they're comparable across the countries. And so then they submitted the data and to the UN Global SDG database. And so that's why this is effort, the report and the database is the effort as the entire global statistical system. It's not only the agency or the UN, but it's also the data is originally from the country, and so the country collect data, and so it's the quality has been checked and throughout the process, the whole data flow process. So I think we are close to our time, but I will maybe try to say there's one more questions relate to the platform. Very important point about policymakers and data. And from Dirk, do you have information on who used the database? Do you have evidence that the data is being picked up by policymakers? I don't know if Heather's still in the chat, but Luis.
Yeah, well, so just a quick answer on that point. We are, of course, grateful for any feedback that we receive from users, and there is a standing invitation for everybody to reach out and share with us your experience and so on. But we have a dedicated team doing user research. So through surveys, focus groups, we are going to continue this effort to understand how the data is being used by whom. Also with the capabilities offered by the platform itself, in partnership with Google, there is also a lot of information that we can act on in terms of what questions are being asked to the system. What are the interactions of the users with the system and so on. So there is a trove of data that is ready to be analyzed for us to continue evolving the system. So I would say there are these two areas where one is to understanding the behavior, the actual behavior of our users, and then the other program that we have in user research with outreach activities like surveys, focus groups, and so on.
Yeah, maybe I would also like to invite Guha and from the data commons perspective, how do you ensure that the data is used by the users and particular policymakers? Do you have any experience on that?
I'm going to the thing which I have learned is to defer to you and Louise on when it actually comes to understanding the actual needs of users, policymakers, and so on. And our goal is to make sure that we have all the right metadata there. And as you know, with you folks, we are working together with people from the World Bank to make sure that the right kinds of things are done. The metadata is there, and the analysis is indeed statistically valid, and so on and so forth. There's a lot more work to be done, and I'm hopeful that we will be able to do it.
Thanks. I think there's another bigger questions, and I'm not sure any of us. Let me see if Stefan's still on the call. If we, yeah, probably not. And so there's, I think the last question is that I have understand that many countries were not able to achieve SDG by 2030. What is the UN plan to help these countries achieve this? Maybe just let me to quickly address this. There's a lot of ongoing processes. So at the current the high-level political forum, the UN and working with many countries to looking at the solution, in particular on some of the goals on the focus on SDG poverty, hunger, climate change, governance, and also partnerships for these goals. But in September, at the UN we have the summit futures. Hopefully, at the summit future, UN will put the world leader together and to look at some of the solution for not only this generation, but also for the future generation. And next year we have a couple of major events. One is the finance for development global finance for development conference, and also World Social Summit. So we would like to the UN will take advantage of this great opportunity to leverage the knowledge and the action from the countries and to push accelerate the SDG progress. And I think they need a transformative changes from all. I need a whole government approach and a whole of society approach. So I would like to invite you to pay attention to the HLPF discussions, and also many of the side events probably offer a lot of the solutions on how to accelerate the SDG progress. And also I see a great comment from the chat about how to promote this. And I think from Lian, she said, I think one missing point is publicity and communication, letting more people know about the availability of the data and how to access it. So this is a really great point. We will also will improve the publicity and communication of the UN data platform and to make more people aware it and use it. And one question is, may I ask where can I access SDG progress data by country, please? The UN data platform also offer the country view. So if you want to go to the platform, search by countries, the name of the country, and also the topics you're interested, you can find the data and also additional information about the countries. I think with that, I don't see any more of the questions. I maybe want to give one more minute for each of the panelists to have your last words about this session and about what's your suggestion for the future improvement of the UN data platform and how to make it more usable. So maybe I will start with Francesca, if you are still there.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
okay.
I think my my choice of last recommendation is linked to what Lynn raised in the chat. Is about making this visible. Not so many people know about the great work done by the UN Statistics Division. I think I can say that with authority, having spent a lot of time there, that there is a lot more we can do to communicate the value of this data, to communicate the value of the product. And this is particularly true when it comes to UN data. I think there is an enormous value in the platform that we need to, that you can communicate more broadly and advertise and guide your users towards that, right? And that can be done collectively. Of course, it's not just UNSD or DESA, of course, it's the whole global statistical community. So yeah, my call is for communication advocacy strategies.
Thank you so much, Francesca. Well, we definitely, this is one of our shortcomings. We will have to improve our communication skill and strategies on that. And go ahead, your last.
I'd like to, again, double down on what Francesca said. Very, very few people know that this is there. I was, in fact, talking to some significant people in the climate change space last week, and they were like, we had no idea about this thing existing. Um, uh, one needs, if you can, I think they need to make a much bigger noise about this so that more people, if people don't have access, don't know the tool exists, they're not going to access it, and then everything we've built is not of use. And so I think as important as it is to build the best tools, it is important to get the tools in the hands of the right people, and we need to put more effort into that. But
Thank you.
overall, you have no idea how incredibly satisfying. It's about a year since we started our collaboration, and we've come this far. It's been an incredible year. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much for the great collaboration and also for the suggestion. We do have to work on our communications. And Luis, from your insight.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the same, in the same sense. Thank you for all this incredible collaboration to Guja and to the partners in Google, and to also our UN partners. I want to say two things that I believe are crucial for us as a UN community to continue moving forward. Is on the one hand humility, and the second confidence. So humility in the sense that we in isolation don't have all the answers, don't have all the tools. And confidence in the sense that yes, we can work productively and make very substantive contributions to these projects. So it is extremely satisfying to be able to talk to uh, engineers, to talk to policymakers, and to have a dialogue uh, where we have a common goal, a common objective. So we can confidently step out of our comfort zone, as I said, and engage in this collaboration. So I just want to invite everybody, but especially people in the UN system, to continue opening for a productive collaboration, in the confidence that we don't have all the answers, but when we bring our brains together, we can get good things done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luis, and really important that we want this platform is not like just UN statistical division product. We want to co-create with our partners and also users together. And so we're looking forward to get your feedback. I think we will do some user research, and also welcome you to send us any suggestion you may have. So with that, I would like to thank you, all the panelists and also my colleagues for the great side event. We're looking forward to work with you to improve the UN data platform. And also, most importantly, we want to make it more usable, to promote it more and communicate it, to make the most people aware of its existence and use for policy making, and to accelerate the SDGs. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.